Welcome to COM540, Corporate Culture, Stakeholder and Change Communication. My name's Dr. Hetty Bryant and I'm going to be your subject convener for this subject, which I'm really looking forward to. So first of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of myself, just to give you a sense of who I am and what I do. So I'm a lecturer. I've been lecturing for the past 2-3 years, mostly in business leadership and also in communication. However, I've got a really diverse background. Before I came to lecturing, I was actually really working for many years at Charles Sturt University for about 15 years, mostly in organisational change, organisational culture, leadership development, etc. I still coordinate the CSU Leadership for Women program, and I still actually I'm a facilitator as well, and I run workshops, organisational change workshops, both within Charles Sturt University and for other not-for-profits. I normally work for not-for-profits. So I've had a long history working in organisational change and organisational culture. Before I came to Charles Sturt University, I actually worked for quite some years in the Department of Primary Industries and also in catchment management, because I originally worked and also in wildlife health, setting up the Australian Wildlife Health Network just before I came, and before that working in catchment management, and before that working in vertebrate pest control. So I've got quite a varied background. But it's always been foundational to that has been working with people through change and developing people. So this subject really resonates really closely with who I am, and I'm really excited that I'll be able to work with you in an area which I'm very familiar with and which I'm passionate about. And also the other thing is, in 2016 I got my Doctor of Communication as well from the School of Communication and Creative Industries. So that's enough about me. So we'll just go over the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes for this subject, there's 3 main ones. So once you've completed this subject, you should be able to demonstrate an advanced knowledge of the role of communication in organisational culture and in organisational change. The two are quite interchangeable. You can't have one without the other. And communication, I always say to people, when you're working in organisational change, there are 3 things you need to do, and they are to communicate. The second one is demonstrate cognitive skills to critically evaluate theories and contemporary communication practice concerning organisational culture. So you'll actually be really required to interrogate the theories around contemporary communication practice, and to be able to critically evaluate. So that's much more deeper than just being descriptive. You actually got to look at the different theories, look at the different literature, be able to kind of critically analyse that, and to also apply that to your work situation. And demonstrate the ability to identify and critically evaluate stakeholder theory and practice. So we'll be going over stakeholder theory and practice as well, and external pressures on organisations, and develop strategies intended to support and affect organisational change. So the subject's about stakeholder engagement, it's about organisational culture, organisational change, and underpinning all of that is, how do you actually communicate to do those things? So I'll just give you an overview of the learning in this subject. So if you've studied before at Charles Sturt University, or you've had a few more subjects before, and if you haven't, we use Interact2, which is really a Blackboard learning site. And I like to use discussion forums. There are some prompts for each of the 4 modules, and I'll be putting up discussion forums for that. And I'll talk about what the discussion forums are as well. There'll be 4 online meetings or lectures, okay, where I'll actually give you a lecture about the topic. And I like to facilitate that and to have it very interactive. And then we'll have 4 chat sessions as well. Mostly because you want to engage with the subject, ask me any questions, maybe ask a lot of questions about assessment as well. And there are learning and support strategies, obviously. So I can be contacted. I think I put down that you could call me on Tuesdays, but look, I work part-time, so emails are really better for me because I can respond much more quickly around an email. But if you need to phone me, that is fine as well, okay? If I'm not in the office, leave a message and I'll get back to you, all right? Okay. And beyond the lectures, etc., as I said, there's the discussion forums, and I'll be putting other resources up as well to support you. Okay? And I do encourage you to support each other as well, but we'll go over that again in a minute. There's 4 modules, and those modules are really evenly spaced. They move from organisational culture through, as I said before, organisational change, stakeholder engagement, stakeholder theory, corporate organisational change and culture. So all the way through, and very well paced. And they have been written by my colleague, Dr. Donald Alexander, who you may have had before. There are 3 assessment items, only 3, don't panic, and I'll talk a little bit about those as well. Note that there's no group work, only I really always encourage, because you're online learners and you're distance, to share with your peers on the discussion forum. Try to connect with people, find out who they are, what they're doing, and you can also help each other to get through the assessment and to share what each other do in your organisations. And quite often I've had people, be able to work together because they live in a certain area together, they work in similar organisations as well, or facing similar challenges more than likely. So as I said, we've got Interact 2. I've flipped this up here. What this is the subject outline. We have a new subject outline. So if you click on the subject outline, it'll come up and there's a lot more information now right at your fingertips. So you've got the subject overview, which are with the learning outcomes, the subject content, the key subjects, your assessment items, your 3 assessment items, assessment information. So there's really good stuff there about referencing, extensions, how to apply for special consideration. It's really important that you put in for special consideration now. They like you to fill out a form to actually apply for special consideration if you need an extension in any of your assessments. So that's assessment information. Always email me if you're running late as well with your assessments as well, okay? And we can kind of talk about that as well. There's my details there as the subject coordinator, my phone details, which I'll put at the end of this slide as well, this video. The schedule, which I've also popped in under the online meeting room, and then there's student feedback, etc. So that's the Interact 2. Down the left-hand side are all the links that you can click on for your learning resources. The online meeting room, East is where you submit your assignments, etc. Okay? So I really do like to set up discussion forums, and these will all be set up by the beginning of session. So first of all, I want you all to introduce yourself on the main discussion forum. There's not that many of you. I think it's really good if you do that. It's good practice. Just introduce yourself, say who you are, maybe where you work if you want to, or the type of work that you're doing, something that's interesting about yourself as well. I always have an assessment forum set up, and I like you to ask questions there so that you can share with your peers. Some people come back with the answer before I do quite often, and I'm happy for that as long as it's the right answer. And post your response to the guided questions for each module. And as I said, I'm going to set up a discussion forum for each module, and there'll be guided questions there. And try to respond to others' posts in a respectful, positive and constructive way, okay? And if you need to for your safety, I know I have students who work in the armed forces, in the federal police, etc. It's important that they de-identify themselves. So this is optional, but if you wish to, you can de-identify yourself for safety. And remember, it's not a therapy session, so you're not there to kind of provide therapy or support for others. You're there to provide support, but in a very learningful way. It's a community of practice, okay? And I always like to pop this in, being a facilitator. Everyone will hear and be heard, and listening is as important as talking, okay? And I do apologise that these slides kind of overlap my picture. Not great at this. I've been doing it for a while, but I haven't quite sorted it yet. And there are no wrong answers, except when they're blatantly wrong when you're responding to someone, and I'll step in. And but I don't make it you feel like you've, responded in an incorrect way. The study and assessment schedule, as I said, I've popped that into the online. It's on the subject outline, but I've also popped it into the online recording tab, and I've actually fixed that up, and I've put the actual dates for each of the lectures and the online chats, so you can stick them straight in your diary. The last couple of ones, the ones on the 3rd of September and the 24th, I will be in the UK, so there will be a time difference. I think I've sorted that time difference out correctly, so let's hope, okay? But I'll keep you posted all the time through the session. I do a weekly announcement. I like to keep engaged. I like to keep you engaged as well. Assessment items, the first one's due on the 27th of July, so you'll all be kind of having a bit of a mad panic because that's not long after when you start, and that's a corporate culture analysis. And a lot of that's about an analysis of your own organisation, looking at your organisation and doing a bit of a cultural diagnosis of that. So that's part of that assessment. The next one is a stakeholder engagement. It's due on the 14th of September. That's a case study of a Central West organisation and how you can assist them with their communication strategy and their stakeholder engagement. And there's a report format that we expect you to follow to fill that one out. Then the last one is a really the middle one, by the way, is worth the most amount. It's 40%. The first is the 30%, and the third is 30%. The last one is about challenges for you as professional communicators, and a lot to do with the digital world and digital disruption, the big pace of change, organisational cultures, etc. So, yeah, that will be a really nice one to finish off on, and that's due on the 11th of October. Now, if you've got any questions about anything, they're my contact details. That's my email and that's my phone number, and I've given the external because some people come in from the US, and I'm happy to Skype from the US or North America or Asia or wherever. I'm more than happy to Skype with people as well if that's cheaper for you, and if you are remote, more than happy to do that. If we can set that up, just let me know, okay? And I've put this little thing up because it's got a little thing about questions. I like questions. I like people coming with their questions. As I said before, there are no wrong answers, just right questions. And I really encourage you in this subject to engage, to ask as many questions as you possibly can. Okay, the slideshow's finished. I'm finished. And I'm really looking forward, as I said, to engaging with you over this winter session. Cheers.